Hello. Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar. I really appreciate your time. My name is Quincy Obioha. I'm a controls engineer here at Kate's Control Systems, and you're actually a part of a series. You're joining us as a part of a series called Avoiding Costly Unloading Errors. And this is part two. Highly encourage you to check out part one, which actually kind of set the stage for a lot of what we're discussing today. You can check that out on the website and see all the good stuff there. Today, we're actually going to be focusing on reasons a new systems fail and three keys to success. If you feel like you're getting kind of stuck or you're kind of lost in the topics, please just go ahead and enter your questions and comments into the chat. Toward the end of this, we'll have a Q&A section, and we'd love to talk through all of them. So I enjoyed seeing all of you. I'm actually going to focus on the presentation now. So I'm going to close my video off. All right. Okay. So remember, we're talking about reasons new systems fail and three keys to success. So to start, we have to just define fail. What is failure when we're rolling out new systems? Let's start with an example. Let's say you installed a new system 1 year ago. This system was the dream come true. We had everything we ever wanted to automate this process we've been doing manually for years and years. And we have all this great equipment. We have limit switches to confirm positions. I'm gonna point these out here. Got limit switches here to confirm positions. We have this diverter, and this diverter is this piece here of the equipment. We can see it actually has three positions. And each position sets up the diverter to be over one of these hoppers so that we can move the product to the appropriate place. So we even have a HMI screen to see this in a graphical way and control the whole system. Like, what more could we ask for? This is what we've been dying for. So the question that we want to ask is, how well is it working now? How well is it working now? Okay, so things have changed dramatically. We went from one person to now we have three people. You can kind of see we have person number one with the clipboards out, instructing everyone on what needs to go where and how fast. And then we have person number two who has kind of taking matters into his own hands, quite literally, and is now moving the diverter manually to the right position. And this just kind of begs a whole nother topic about safety and machinery. So this is kind of scary. And then we have person three over here who is just totally neglected the new HMI controls, shiny new armor to get us through the system. He's now just pushing the on and off buttons to get it going. This is not what we expected to see a year later. You know, our limit switches are over here. Clearly, the diverter is disconnected, and we're just manually moving it from all over the place. The HMI is just off to the side collecting dust, and we went backwards. You know, clipboards for all my clipboard fans. Unfortunately, that's backwards. We want to get where we're moving forward using technology to help us move things forward. So, is this a fail? If you consider the investment it takes to deploy a system like this, we're talking dollars now. We're talking maybe tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe even more to deploy systems like this. If I'm the investor, if you're the investor and you come and find out that your system is no longer being used the way it was intended, I think most people are going to be pretty upset. This, for all intents and purposes, is considered a failing situation. So if it is a fail, let's ask some questions. How do we even get here? Why is it failing? We can ask, was it optional? So meaning like, was this new system a kind of alternative to the old way? Where the old way is the way I've been doing it for 5, 10, 15 years. This is the way I know how to do it. I can do it efficiently. I can do it effectively. Like, if I have the choice, I'm probably going to stick with what's familiar. Another question could be, was there a workaround? This kind of lies in the optional kind of mindset where if you can just figure out a way where you don't have to really use the new system, you're probably going to lean towards what's comfortable. Was this new system adding additional work? Now, if I have to do more work to do something that's supposed to be helping me, I'm going to try to avoid it at all costs. I already have a lot to do. I already had a busy schedule, like talking from an operator perspective. I don't need something that's going to make my job harder to do. Another question could be, was it cumbersome? So like I totally knew how to use the system. I totally get how it works and um, how to be effective with it, but it's just hard. It's just not natural. Like where maybe I could do this in 3 easy steps. Now it's 100. That's just not going to be something that I can get comfortable using. Hopefully, we would say no to all of these when we're rolling out a new system. We don't want to have to say yes to any of these. Let's ask a few more questions. Let's say, did it add value? And this is important. I don't think anybody wants something new and it not add any value. Value can look like, there's more, this system is more safe. This system is providing more quality. The system's just easier. I can do more than I could before. We want to make sure we can definitely check this box with a yes. And was there a plan B if it broke? Now we all want to be able to say a new system that's installed, never gonna bend, never gonna break, never gonna have any issues. But the reality is there can be some just unforeseen kind of circumstances, lightning strikes, and now we have an issue and we have to be in a position where we can still keep production rolling. It will never be acceptable for us to just say, "Oh, sorry, we're gonna have to just stop production until we can address this." We got to be able to address it right away. So a plan B is always necessary. So we want to answer these questions with a yes. These are some good like cues that just happen to be kind of like good to observe. So when you show up to the plant again, is the plant actually happy to see you, or are you getting the cold shoulder? Everyone starts walking the other way as you come down the hall. That's usually a sign maybe something isn't going well. Another thing is, are they even excited about the new system you want to install? Operators are very good at letting you know about any problems they have. And if they give you the kind of laundry list of like, hey, this is the issues I have with this, they're probably not excited. So you'll definitely want to make sure, or these are things that you want to not have to answer negatively. You want them to be excited when they see you. So far, let's just kind of summarize this real quickly. So the system shouldn't be optional, no easy workarounds, not no additional work, not cumbersome. It needs to bring value. And if there's a issue, we got to have a plan B. But there is something else important to think about too. Everyone needs to know how to use it, right? We have our guys down here, they can't have the question marks over their heads. They need to actually understand how to use their system well, both seasoned and new employees. And as things change, where everyone who was trained kind of on the like first generation, I guess, of the system, they may get new roles. They might not be doing this anymore. We got to make sure that knowledge passes down smoothly. So, how can we avoid these pitfalls? So, in addition to the previous list that we mentioned, we are talking about not optional, not any more work. People need to see the point of the system. People must see themselves using the system. Let's look at an example. Let's go back. Let's go back to that very first smartphone you ever got. You remember that feeling of it just being so much better than what you had before? Well, you could quickly see the point of using it, where now, prior to and from personal experience, your phone before it was smart, it had a lot more buttons on it, a lot more things to navigate. And then if you looked at your peer who had a smartphone, they only had one button. I was like, how can you compete with mine? They simply just kind of told me, hey, you can just touch the screen. And that's that moment where I have that, my mind's blown and I'm like, oh, you can touch the screen. I can't do that on mine. The smartphone was like, it was easy to see the point of it and how to use it really quickly. So, like, you want to be able to answer yes to these questions. And of course, some of you may not even recognize this base model of the Apple iPhone. It's been quite a while, and we've moved on to the upgraded versions of smartphones. And of course, like even though we made it through various upgrades with smartphones, we still understand the point of them. We still understand how to use them. We're still getting more value out of it. It should never be like backwards, right? Okay, so let's look at this in terms of our example with our unloading scenario. So let's ask a few questions. Is it modern? Is it easy to use? Does it make sense? Does it make things easier? Does it add work with no visible benefit? And does it fit the factory floor workflow? And this is actually really important. I mean, it'd be really incredible to have this new system, but it doesn't have any practicality towards the rest of the plant. It's all got to make sense. It's all got to tie together in some seamless way. And as settled as this might seem, they need to like it. Many people will use things that they like. I think all of us will use things that we like to that we can find it's easy to use and we enjoy it. So let's kind of talk about what's some traits of a successful system. Well, any system that is a new system that's being deployed needs to solve some kind of problem, and we're just trying to answer the need of some kind of issue. And whatever it is, like we want to solve it elegantly. We can just throw a whole we can throw a lot of ideas at something, see how they land, see how it works, but we want to make sure that the problem is solved elegantly. And then we also want to make sure that the problem is solved well, meaning it'd be great that we address one issue, but we shouldn't create three more issues in solving the problem. A band-aid can be okay for a while, but it's never permanent. And this may make people cringe. Band-aids are something you want to stick away from, but we think like, yeah, temporarily, never permanent, because we're really wanting to have a real solution that's going to stand the test of time. something that we want to look at is that the people that have been working in the plant, I mean, some of them have been there a long time. We need to ask them questions. And their questions may seem like this. So this could be one. Is this just another thing HQ dreamed up that won't work? Now, if I'm being honest, there's a little bit of tension in that question, asking that you can kind of feel maybe a little tenacity because there's probably a trend of HQ dreaming up plans and rolling them out without really thinking them all the way through. Another question is, do the designers of this thing know how things worked before? This is important, right? We're providing a new system, so we need to understand what was previously put in place before we even change anything. Did they do their homework? And this is kind of the same things. Did they actually go and find out what it was doing before? Did they talk about any of the details of the system with anybody else other than headquarters or other designers? Is it worth the money they spent on it? And this one can really cause sharp pain because I mean we don't want, like our illustration earlier, we don't want to be in a position where you threw tens and hundreds and thousands of dollars at a system that is not used. That's never the goal there. And then again, am I going to like it? I'm going to continue to stress that you got to like the system that you're going to be using. So that last section can be summed up as operators know a lot, use that knowledge. We're talking about these guys, our person one, two, and three. They have something to teach us. They even have they kind of defaulted to this way that works for them. And we need to learn from them and kind of be working in a cohesive manner to be able to provide a really good solution. So let's apply the hard earned knowledge in the plan. Let's ask the operators for their input and wisdom. Let's get them involved in the design. Let's learn from them. Let's share stories and experience. And you'll know you've succeeded when others are spreading the word. And kind of jumping back to this sharing stories and experience, like there's things about maybe a process that can really only be understood when you're talking to the people on the floor, the operators, where they have seen outliers and things that just don't traditionally happen. You'll want to make sure you capture those things in your design process. And then we want to make sure that the plant feels like they have ownership of the system. We want them to own it. We want to make sure they are set up for success. Okay, so let's actually move on to training. This is part of making sure the operators are confident in using the system. So let's continue down that path. So we want to support various learning styles. And of course, manuals are a part of that process. Me personally, I try to get far from manuals when I can. They serve a purpose, don't get me wrong, but that 300-page paper is not what I like to spend my afternoons doing. But there are many areas that we can all learn from, like in a classroom setting, audio, visual, doing, and even better is learning in line. Or, in other words, what if you could just learn what you need to do as you're using the system? Wouldn't that be great if you just have the answer that you're needing is guiding you through? That's what inline learning is. So we want to support many learning styles, but let's not just deliver that 300-page manual and just kind of live on that because maybe that's going to end up in the junk pile. You can see it right there. We already had a pile accumulating, and there goes the manual. If you don't use all of them, at least a combination of these probably really work well. And you'll probably see most of the time. A lot of people like the doing option, like they learn by doing it, have their hands on it, they want to be walked through it. But we find that you can't just rely on one thing. It's usually a combination of things. One thing that we actually like to do is just try to tell the story. That usually kind of helps just capture the whole breadth of everything you might need to do. So actually, I want to do a little exercise with everyone. We're going to actually do what we call storyboards. So we're going to walk through the process and actually make our own storyboard together. Let's start with the simple panel. So rectangle there. Let's add more. So now we got two. Then we're going to add some numbers. Let's number them. Let's add a few words, small words. Keep it real brief. Let's add some pictures, simple ones, straight to the point, and then let's put them all together. So we have our story right here. This is a four-step process, and this helps me get through exactly what I want to communicate to whoever's using the system. Another cool thing is we talked about inline. We can actually just put the storyboards right into the app. We can see how different devices will represent the app in different ways. And this is the same storyboards that are helping us learn how to use the system where we're able to leverage them in the app. Here's another representation. And this storyboard specifically is how to complete a real car unload. So if I follow all of these steps, I would have successfully unloaded. So let's actually take a brief tour through this. We first start with scanning the BOL, then we select and receive the BOL. So here's a little picture of the scanner and it's scanning the QR code. Step two, we'll scan the rail car, then we'll select vehicle arrived. So we see our scanner, we see the RFID tag on the rail car here, and then the device is also, it has a display showing us to select the arrived option. Then step three, we mark the vehicle online or offline. Step four, we're entering in the vehicle in sales. These right here, we enter them in the scanner. And then step five, we need the request content inspection. So there's probably want to understand what's inside here before we move forward. And then step six, we'll make sure that everything is complete before we move forward. Step seven, we'll set the vehicle for the unloading process and then scan the unload station and the rail car. We're getting everything staged and ready to go. And then step eight, we'll select what hopper we want to go to. And I know this is kind of small, but just giving you guys an idea here. You can see we're clicking the right hopper we want. And then step nine, the system is going to do some thinking, making sure that everything is correct. And then once it's approved, we'll go and be in a position where we can start the unload and push the start button there. See the motor turn on. Step 12, we're going to hit the stop button if we need to, check a few things, maybe restart. And then once we're done, we'll hit the complete button here. It says unload complete. And then in step 14, we have to capture how much was unloaded. We saw it was full before and now it's drained low. We need to calculate that information. So we'll get that entered. And then in step 15, we'll mark the vehicle partial or empty. Let's go ahead and mark it empty. And then in step 16, we'll enter the vehicle out seals. Now the rail car is getting ready to leave. Let's put these seals on for it to leave. And step 17, we're going to go and set it up for departure. So it'll be ready for pickup. And step 18, it is leaving the site. We've successfully went through this process. This is what storyboards provide, just a quick way to understand what's going on, and it's always available to you. Okay, so let's go ahead and start to look at what are the keys to developing a successful system, especially a validation system. So this is going to be, we're going to start to sum up some kind of what we've been talking about. We want to make it solve the problem elegantly. No extra work. It should be a better experience using it than not using it. You want to think it through so it's cohesive, and you want to refine it, refine it, refine it, and refine it some more. Can't stress that enough. I would my heart sinks for the person who designs something on the first go and never refines it, never reviews it, and just goes and deploys it. That sounds like a nightmare coming. You want to get the operators involved in this process as you refine it. You want to make sure that they know exactly what you're doing so you can, one, kind of prime them, and two, you can get their feedback. So get them involved early and change course based on their input if needed. And that's important because if you might have put a lot of effort into developing this far and you learn something new that kind of just sets you back, you'll want to go ahead and make that turn to get that addressed. You don't want to have an issue where in the long term now they're having problems. Now it looks like that illustration where everything is not used anymore. We want to also include training. We want to cover different learning methods. We don't want to assume the 300-page paper is going to do the job for us. We want to consider new people and turnover, and we want to just make it easy to learn and gain confidence. Also, something that's very important is providing updates and support. So now we've already deployed the system, we trained everyone, we're gone. But now what? We want to make sure that operators that have questions with the system, that information is rooted back to the integrators, so that they can make changes for future rollouts. And then you want to handle bugs and reports and things like that. You want to make sure all that gets back so that these things can be addressed later. Remote support should be easy. It should be easy to just support the site if they need to, because now we're saying we're no longer local, we're no longer able to get to the site easily, and if there's help needed, it's you're going to want help now, not later. So a remote setup is very important. Another thing is for rollouts, consider how to provide future feature rollbacks to earlier sites. And what does that mean? Well, if you're doing a rollout, you might have five different locations that you're deploying the same system. And let's say you get to site number five, you have deployed something and you've had learnings throughout the course of this journey. Site number five is going to have all the features, and step site number one is not going to have all those features. So you'll want to have a plan for that to go back and make sure everyone is kind of the same level. And this should all be in the budget. This should all be a part of the plan, not just deployment and training, but also updates and support. Now we're getting close to the end here. We're going to wrap up soon. But let's talk about learning tools. Could it be easy to learn like your smartphone? And yes, it actually can be, because we can put a lot of resources right into the app. So let the app tell the story. Let the app tell the story. Like, for example, this video is going to show us the scan history. And again, this is right inside the app. So in this application, you can see me myself, Quincy Obia, I'm actually did some scanning and did some use of the system. and I can review that right out of the app. Very helpful tools right there. So in summary, what's a successful deployment? Well, a successful deployment includes team meetings, regular design reviews, gain the knowledge of the operators, get the input from the plant. They know how things run. Plan the cutover for success. Keep the old procedure or system running while you train on the new system. This is important because we don't want to just like hard cut over to the new system and no one's prepared to use it. We still have to keep in mind production still needs to run. We need to train everyone on the new system, and then we can kind of unplug the old one once everyone is familiar. We'll validate the new system against the old and make sure everything's functioning properly. And we'll just continue to train, train, train until everyone is feeling rock solid with the system. And in the long term, we want to make sure that there's remote support and that we plan for future rollback plans during rollouts and that there's some kind of version update plan. All right, guys. Thank you for your time. That's actually all I had to share for today. I definitely like you to stay prepared for the next webinar called Validation Systems, Webinar 3. And remember, there's Webinar 1 out there. You can check that out on the website today. That's going to be March 22nd, 2023. And now we want to give some time for questions. So please, if you have questions, you can go ahead and put them in the chat and we will walk through them together.
Hey, Quincy, we have some questions here. First of all, how long should training typically last? You hit training pretty hard. Well, how long would a training session in a plant typically last?
All right, good question. This can actually vary quite a bit. It can be 2 to 3 days. It can be a week. It can be a month. Whatever it is, it's really based on the confidence level of the operators. So if the operators really don't feel comfortable, we don't want to just kind of leave them out to dry unless, well, until they feel confident with the system.
We have several more in the queue here, Quincy. Do you have any examples where sites neglected the upgrades?
Yeah, good question. Yes, actually. Surprisingly, we've been to sites where they had safety integration, safety upgrades, and we came back and the safeties were totally removed. And this is just like extremely scary. You never want to like compromise on safety. But what happens is the things we talked about today, it was too cumbersome. It just wasn't easy to use. And in the end, you kind of end finding yourself just the operators just trying to find themselves making it work.
Okay, what does remote support look like in most cases?
So remote support tends to actually look like a combination of things. It could be as simple as a Zoom setup where someone shares their screen and maybe the integrator will just actually look at the screen or maybe even take control over the screen. Also, you could just have like a VPN setup which is better. That allows the integrator to just like get right to the access to what they need so they can check everything necessary.
Okay, here's another one. How do you make sure that new people, maybe new hires, get the benefit of training?
Oh, really good question. Okay, so that can be tricky right now. We're saying the new hires, they they're showing up when the integrators, the trainers have already left. The classic way that somebody new learns something is that they actually have to go through the process of finding the person who knows, spending time with that person for a week or what have you. But that's actually the old way. Now we have resources where that person can learn on their own. They can learn at their own pace, and they can do this because the system provides all the resources they would ever need to know and use the system. Good question.
Excellent. We got a couple more in the queue here. What is that app you keep showing?
Maybe you noticed this from our website. It is something that you can find on our website, and you can find out more information about it. But the whole point of this product is to receive rail cars and trucks to avoid costly unloading errors, which is the whole point of this series that we're on right now.
Okay, we got another question in the queue. Who makes those storyboards and what's the process you go through?
Oh, yeah. So the storyboards are fun. With the storyboards, we are really just kind of summarizing what we understand about the system and really trying to make it as simple as possible. We want those storyboards to just like really drive home everything that we need to understand about the system in a very brief way. So this is like a collective effort that we will kind of use and review with the plan and with the team, so that we can make sure everyone's following along with what we're actually trying to achieve.
That's all the questions we have at the moment. Can you show us some more of those screenshots?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Okay, so see here. We just have some screenshots here. So this is actually like I said earlier, this is a web application. If you kind of look up the top here, we just have like a web browser, Chrome web browser, and we're in development right now. So this is just our local setup right now. But this is a application that we developed here at Cates Controls Systems, and this is we can see here like this is the site management page, and there's a lot of resources here. I won't go into great depth here, but we'll be welcome to talk to you more about the product in general. Here's another screenshot. We're looking at scan history, and something else to kind of point out here is you're seeing the same thing like two times. One is what you might expect like on a smart device, where it's kind of a little bit narrow. And then this is like looking at it from your desktop device. So it's flexible. It's You can get different ways to view the same product. And then we mentioned our storyboards. The storyboards are built right into the application. This is if I want to know how to use the system, I'll go right into the help, and I can actually look at stories, and we have a few stories here that can help us to learn about the system. And you might be thinking, well, like I really did like the manual way of things. Well, there's also the words, words being traditional like text format, and then there's also videos.
We have another question. Can you download the data into Excel or some other format?
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely something for the future of this product, and this is again under development. This product is kind of positioned in a way where it can handle a lot of different applications. It's geared towards railcar and truck, but that's just where we're at today.
If the scanner is dropped or non-functioning, how easy is it to bring another scanner online? I mean, is there something special we had to do to this scanner to make it work?
Oh, I love that question. I love answering that question, because the beauty of this type of system is the device is not the kind of end of the line. The device is just a mechanism for using the system, but you can actually just pick up another scanner and immediately just point the browser to the server, and boom, you have everything that I'm seeing today. And this could be done from a computer and whatever you use to like leverage the system.
So are those the requirements right there on the help screen for the scanner?
Yes, yes. And so for the point, I'm getting the help I need. The TransferMinder application here. If you look, it's telling me exactly what I need to actually get right back into the action. It should have a touch screen. It should be an RFID scanner or barcode scanner. It should have Wi-Fi, keyboard wedge, a web browser. That's why you kind of use the app to get what you need. And again, like, so in the example, if the device has had some damage and you can't open the device anymore to see this, well, you can just go to your computer. So this is like a computer representation of the same thing. We can get that information straight off from any device, honestly. All right. Was there any more questions? Okay, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. We actually really appreciate it at Case Control Systems. Please stay tuned for the future series and please have a wonderful day.